All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Excuse me, Salakia. And today is April 29th, 2024, Missile Monday. And I have this article from Politico, and it says 72 minutes until the end of the world. So I'm just going to go into this article and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And before I get into it, I read, some of this article, earlier, which, it was pretty decent. Just like the title reads, man, 72 hours, like not hours, 72 minutes until the end of the world. And it automatically, had me think about, the scriptures in Revelation chapter 18, where it speaks about, Babylon the Great being destroyed in 1 hour, So let's get into it. It says, nuclear war will be bad. Everyone knows this. Most people will probably rather not think through the specifics, but Annie Jacobson, an author of 7 books on the sensitive national security topics, wants you to know exactly how bad it will be. Well, the prophets are telling you, how bad it's going to be. It's going to be extremely bad. But this woman is giving her insight on, exactly how bad a nuclear war will be, So it says her new book, Nuclear War, A Scenario, sketches out a global nuclear war with by the minute precision for all of the 72 minutes between the first missile launch and the end of the world. It's already a bestseller. So as we know, we are in the last days, but the world isn't going to end, as in the entire earth isn't going to be destroyed. But this particular age that we're in, man, the age of Esau, Edom, his rulership, that world is going to end, as it states in 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, Jacob is the beginning of Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, So that's really all that means. It says it goes without saying that the scenario is fictional, but it is a journalistic work in that the scenario is constructed from dozens of interviews and documentation, some of it newly declassified as a factual grounding to describe what could happen. That's this in Jacob's Slacky is kind of a tongue twister. That's this in Jacobson's telling. A North Korean leader launches an intercontinental ballistic missile at the Pentagon, and then a submarine ballistic launch missile at a nuclear reactor in California for reasons beyond the scope of the book, except to illustrate what one mad king with nuclear weapons could do. Even though she wrote this in a book, but you clearly have, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, parading his nuclear weaponry, man. He's pretty much letting the West know that he's ready to take this place down, if he needs to. But overall, we know that it's ultimately going to be Russia, with the aid of North Korea, China, and, all these other nations, So it says, a harried president has a mere 6 minutes to decide on a response while also being evacuated from the White House and pressured by the military to launch America's own ICBC. To launch America's own ICBMs at all 82 North Korean targets relevant to the nation's nuclear and military forces and leadership. And yeah, man, I did, a video on that. I forgot how recent it was, but it was not too long ago where, I did a Missile Monday video, and pretty much, what is described and what I just read, if nuclear war were to happen, which it is, it's inevitable. And pretty much the president will literally only have 6 minutes to respond. And this is why, the nuclear president, it's like, yeah. This is why the U.S. president has nuclear launch codes with them at all times, no matter where they go. They always have those codes. Because again, 6 minutes is not a lot of time to, make a decision on a nuclear war. There's only, one response, just to pretty much hit the button. If one nation has already, launched their missiles toward America, that's the only response, is to, pretty much let loose, let the arsenal go, So I wanted to get that word inevitable, the definition, because people just don't understand that this is something that is going to happen, man. So the word inevitable, it says certain to happen, unavoidable. So yeah, man, World War III is unavoidable. It's going to happen regardless if people want it to happen or not, But us, the men of the Lord, we want this war to happen. We know this war is going to happen, but we want it to happen because we know that once America is taken down, man, it's going to be, the beginning of the rulership of the nation of Israel once again and forever, man. So let's get back into it. It says, these missiles must fly over Russia, whose leaders spot them, assume their country is under attack. The respective presidents can't get one another on the phone and send a salvo back in the other direction, and so on until 72 minutes later, 3 nuclear-armed states have managed to kill billions of people, with the remainder left starving on a poisoned earth where the sun no more shines and food no longer grows. So yeah, man, even though she wrote this in a book, this is pretty much somewhat, she's somewhat accurate in what she's saying, man. But it's not just going to be, North Korea, Russia, and China. World War III is primarily going to be between Russia and America, the beast versus it's like, yeah, the whore versus the bear, is what I meant to say. We already know America is known as, the great whore, and Russia is known as the bear, because Russia is, going to take America down, Again, and these other countries are going to aid in helping destroy this place, but it's primarily going to be Russia, And pretty much what she's saying, again, that's pretty much going to be, the response, for when this war happens. 6 minutes isn't a lot of time, and then once those missiles are launched, man, they're only going to take about, 15 minutes at the least, 30 minutes at the most to get here from wherever they're coming from, man. And that's not a long time either, And people just don't understand how serious this is, man. It's extremely serious. So I'm just going to read these last few paragraphs. It says, some scholars, particularly among those who favor large nuclear arsenals as the best deterrent to being attacked with such weapons ourselves, have criticized some of Jacobson's assumptions. The U.S. wouldn't have to court Russian miscalculation by overflying Russia with ICBMs when it has submarine-launched ballistic missiles in the Pacific. Public sources indicate that the president's 6-minute response window is still about in line with what Ronald Reagan noted with dismay in his memoirs, but that he, Slucky, but that assumes he's boxed into a launch only, Slucky, but that assumes he's boxed into a launch on warning policy, something Jacobson's sources characterize as a constraint to move before enemy missiles actually strike, but which government policy documents insist is merely an option and not a mandate. The president could also just decide, contra to deterrence tombstone of mutual assured destruction, not to nuke anybody at all in response. And trust and believe if they didn't, because again, America and Russia possess the most nuclear warheads, between the two countries. Russia has more, but these two countries have the most missiles. Why wouldn't America launch, their missiles back? It doesn't make sense. Every nuclear missile that is being created is going to be used. It's like it says in certain scriptures. None of these arrows are going to be spared. They're not going to be in the kingdom of heaven. We're not going to talk about this. They're not going to be in a museum. Oh well, yeah, they use these. No, man. Every single one of these nuclear weapons is going to be used. None of them are going to be spared. So yes, depending on whoever is president when, this thing pops off officially, that's going to be the only response, is to push the button, and fire back. So this is, this last I'm going to read. It says the book arrives at a time when the countries with the world's largest nuclear arsenals, the U.S. and Russia, are violently at odds in Ukraine. A Russian state TV host is calling a Russian-NATO conflict inevitable. See? It's going to happen. Regardless if people want it to happen or not, man, Russia and the United States are going to go to war, because that's the end all be all, man. This is going to be the war to end all wars. And and the Council on Foreign Relations is gaming out scenarios in case the Russians use tactical nukes in Ukraine. Oh, and Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than ever before. It's a fair time to ask Jacobson's central question. What if deterrence fails, even if we rather not think about it? So again, man, every single nuclear weapon that is being created is going to be used, man. None of them are going to be spared. So whichever nations on the earth, primarily Russia and the United States, as it says, are going to use these weapons, they're going to shoot them, man. And the majority of them are going to hit here in America, man. So yes, billions of people are going to die in this war. They are. Because as it says, again, roughly paraphrasing, it says, the slain of the Lord shall be many, from one end of the, it's like you're a little excited. It says from one end of the earth to the other, because it's not just going to be these nations, man. Our Lord Yahweh Shai is going to come back in the midst of this war, man. And he's also, with the angels, are going to come back and destroy this place, But again, on a smaller scale, Russia is going to take down Babylon, man. So let's get into the scripts. I don't want to make this one too long. So I want to get straight to the point. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16. And it says, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. And yeah, man, pretty much, as always, the smith being the scientist that are developing these weapons, to be used, and that waste their being these nuclear missiles, man, these ICBMs. They were created for this particular time that we're in, man, where all these countries are at war with each other, So now I'm going to get Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 3. And it says, "For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast." So yeah, again, this war is primarily going to be between Russia and the United States, man. Now she, in her book, she put North Korea. Now again, who knows exactly how World War III is officially going to be started, but it is going to be between Russia and the United States, man. That's the North country, or from out of the north, man. It's talking about Russia. So I'm going to jump down to verse 9. So it says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, Russia, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrow shall be as mighty." It's like their arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall remain. It's like none shall return in vain. So yeah, man. Every single weapon, again, like I said, is going to be used, man. They're not going to come back. None of these, none of these missiles that are being created are going to go to waste. They're all going to be used to hit their specific targets, man. So now I'm going to jump to Jeremiah chapter 51. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind." Again, man, because once those missiles detonate, for those that have seen, the series Fallout, in the first episode, spoiler alert, you pretty much seen, nukes going off, man. That destroying wind is, once that missile detonates, it's then going to cause that shock wave that's going to sweep through the land, man. Followed by that wall of fire. That's that destroying wind. Verse 2, and it says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about." And yeah, all these other nations are going to be against her. Even America's allies are going to turn on her, man. Verse 3, "Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts." And yeah, man, America is going to be destroyed and left completely desolate, man, just like it describes in Isaiah 34, how America is going to look after this war takes place, man. So now I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 18. I'm going to get, 3 verses out of this chapter, getting straight to the point. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 10. And it says, "Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come." And yeah, man, pretty much in her book, she says 72 minutes. That's 1 hour and 12 minutes, man. Does it not say? And even if that's not biblically accurate, about the exact time, but still, it says in this chapter that it's only going to take 1 hour for Babylon to be destroyed, man. 1 hour. It's not a long time. So I'm going to jump down to verse 17. And again, as it says, this is Revelation 18:17. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. Pretty much, these, those merchants, these other nations that, pretty much, bring in their goods from their countries, to sell to America. They're going to be sad because they're not going to be able to make any more money, because you have certain of these countries that have, gotten rich, off of America. So I'm just going to grab verse, I'm just going to read the next two verses because the last point is in verse 19. And it says, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? So no other city is like America. This is why you have these other nations imitating, America pretty much, like, especially with the skyscrapers, you have Dubai, with those super tall, skyscrapers, and then it's pretty much modern, because it didn't used to look like that. And then, brothers were talking about this, I think after camp, pretty much Tokyo, Japan is just like New York City, just cleaner. So these other nations, they pretty much imitate, and take out of the ways of America, man. But they're going to be sad because they're not going to be able to get rich out this place anymore. They're going to see that smoke coming from this place, man, from those missiles. And this is the point, and I'm going to end it on this. And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. So yeah, man, these nations that bring their goods from their country, they're still able to make money now. But once that happens, once this war officially happens and those missiles are launched, man, it's only going to take 1 hour, for this place to be completely destroyed, man. 1 hour. That's all it's going to take, So that's pretty much it for this one. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the artists of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say shalom.